Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
කීරි සම්බ නැහැ සුදු හලුත් නැහනේ. අවා මේ ආඩුවන රුපියල් 60ට සිල්ලර මිල හැදුවොත් තමයි හොඳ.
රටහල් නම් කන්න බෑ මේ බඩ දැවිල්ල ඒක රටහල් කන්න බෑ.
ලංකාවේ හාල් ගණන් වැඩි නිසා මිනිසුන්ට ජීවත් වෙන්න ක්‍රමයකුත් තියෙන එපා මොනවා හරි ඉතින් මේ රටහල් මිනිසුන්ට කන්න වෙන මොනවා කරන්නේ.
පිටරට හාල් නම් කන්න නම් බෑ. ඒ වගේ ආයි ගෙන්නන්න නම් ගෙන්නනවට වඩා හොඳයි නිකන් ඉන්න එක.
මේ මොනවා කරනවද කියලා මට නම් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ.
ඔය තියෙන අය නම් කටි බොති නටති නැති බැරි අය බලන් ඉතින් ඉනා වගේ තමයි.
If you take a look at the market situation today, a kilogram of locally produced rice is over 100 rupees. However, you can only purchase a kilogram of imported rice for less than 100 rupees. Please bear in mind that this is the holiday season, and in a few months, in 2018, we enter the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Until now, from the information that we have, the farmers have not been able to cultivate for more than 5 harvesting seasons, despite a sufficient amount of rainfall received in several areas. Now, according to the farmers, the rainfall was sufficient for them to harvest, but in order to obtain the best harvest, they still need the urea fertilizer, because urea fertilizer is an important aspect in farming in Sri Lanka. Even today, the farmers are facing many difficulties because of the shortage of urea fertilizer. And this is what the farmers had to say to News First today. I have with me the chairman of the UB12 Farmers Society, C.H. Kumara. Tell us about what has happened.
It has come to a point where it is useless for farmers to use fertilizer. The officials said that they had sufficient stocks of fertilizer and they could easily supply it. However, there is no urea fertilizer in this district nor in the country. We can't carry on with our lives. We cannot teach our children. We cannot buy medicine. We are destitute. We are afraid that our farmlands will turn into simple grasslands.
යලිවතාවක් මුඩුබිම් බවට පත් වෙයි කියලා තමයි අපිට බය තියෙන්නේ.
දැන් මාසයක් වෙනවා මේ ගොයන් වලට. නමුත් මේ
It has been a month since the seeds were sown, but there is no fertilizer. We are suffering on a daily basis. If the farmer falls, the entire country falls.
මේ ගොවියා වැටුණා කියන්නේ මුළු රටම වැටුණා කියන තැනට තමයි පත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
දැන් මගේ මේ වගාවට දැනට දවස් 21ක්.
This cultivation here is 21 days old. I need to put fertilizer within the next 20 days. There is no fertilizer. The usual price of fertilizer is 1,390 rupees, but there isn't any fertilizer to be purchased even for 5,000 rupees. There is no point in putting fertilizer if there are further delays. The people of this country were looking to the seas, waiting for fuel shipments. The farmers are today looking to the seas, waiting for the arrival of fertilizers. Moving forward, all I can say is God bless the farmers and the innocent general public.
දෙවියන්ගේම පිට තමයි.
අනවශ්‍ය බියක් ඇති කරගන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. මහ කන්නේට අවශ්‍ය පොහොර.
There is no need to be afraid. The two state institutions will ensure that we provide the fertilizer required for the Maha season. We are taking the necessary steps to ensure that fertilizer reaches the required areas. If there is a need for fertilizer, speak to the local warehouse managers of the Ceylon Fertilizer Company and Colombo Commercial. Then we will be able to send the required fertilizer to the areas. We have taken steps to import 36,000 tons of fertilizer. Do not stock up on fertilizer because there is a shortage. Buy only what you need. The fertilizer that was used to be imported by the private sector did not reach the country in time. They are cooperating with us. They could send us around 10,000 tons of fertilizer by next week. Furthermore, 15,000 tons of fertilizer will reach the shores of the country within the next 3 weeks. This will also be imported by the private sector.
15000 විතර ප්‍රමාණයක් ලංකාවට පෞද්ගලික අංශයේ පැමිණෙනවා.
Now the authorities are telling the farmers do not purchase extra stocks of fertilizer from the storage facilities and store it at your houses. It is common knowledge that only a certain amount of urea fertilizer is required per acre of paddy land that is cultivated. Therefore, the farmers only purchase the required amount of fertilizer. We also mentioned to you yesterday about the tender process. We are on the 21st of November 2017. A tender process was approved even with the Cabinet Procurement Committee. However, several days later, that tender was cancelled. It is in this same environment that the private sector was also given an opportunity to import urea fertilizer to the country. Now, we are told that the private sector has an extra stock of around 32,000 metric tons of fertilizer right now. And even the two state-owned companies have around 10,000 metric tons of extra urea fertilizer stored in their facilities. We are also informed that the global market price of urea fertilizer is gradually increasing, and sources close to authorities have told us that it is more profitable to sell mixed fertilizer rather than selling urea fertilizer alone. Now, in this situation, and with the situation of a shortage of fertilizer in the market in Sri Lanka, the private sector and the two state-owned companies have agreed to release a certain amount of their extra stocks of urea fertilizer. You might remember yesterday we mentioned about the 72,000 metric ton fertilizer tender process. If the two state-owned companies and the private sector release a sufficient amount of their urea fertilizer, that would be around 20,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer. Of that amount, if you deduct it from the 72,000 metric tons, you still need around 50,000 metric tons of fertilizer. We are being told for the second tender process of 36,000 metric tons of fertilizer, discussions are ongoing, and then there are also discussions with the Pakistan High Commissioner to purchase fertilizer from Pakistan. Whatever the situation may be, if fertilizer is not added to these paddy fields, there will be a shortage of rice in the country. So what we have to say to the authorities is, do not play with the lives of the farmers. If you don't give them the fertilizer, we will not have sufficient harvest, and without a sufficient harvest, there will be a shortage of rice in the country, and in the end, it is the people, the consumers, who will have to suffer.